Hey everyone, Rinka here with Rinka Photography. I wanted to make a quick video just to go into a product that I've sort of made or put together to help with my day-to-day shoots here in the studio. So if you're a studio photographer like myself, you may find yourself using V-flats quite often, or if you're not familiar with what those exactly are, essentially they're 4x8 sheets of either foam board or cardboard or whatever you can get. You would put them together to create sort of a book. Me personally, I use them individually, so I'm not using those two sheets together. I'm actually using them individually. So I'll show you what one looks like for me. Again, it's 4 feet by 8 feet. I've got a black side and I've got a white side. These are pieces that you can get at any local hardware store. Obviously, it's difficult to transport them and they're expensive to ship, but if you have access to a truck, they're very handy to have as a photographer, especially in the studio, because obviously the white side is going to allow me to reflect light onto my subject, and alternatively, the black side will eat light if I want to create more contrast, deeper shadows. But the problem is when you use these on their own, obviously you could tell you need some way to keep them up. Obviously, if you use a V-flat in the traditional sense where you have the two pieces joined together, obviously there's a support system already in place. It's like a book. It'll have no issues for the most part standing up. But if you're like me, I kind of use them separately. And so what that means is I have to usually get creative in the studio, whether I'm using apple boxes or sandbags or chairs, stools, whatever I have handy to keep them up. But at the end of the day, it's not really professional. And I've had issues where, whatever I was using just wasn't good enough, and eventually, the V-flat would start to tip over or the board. And I mean, it weighs nothing. But at the end of the day, you don't want your client to see a big piece of anything falling towards them. So I got tired of kind of hacks to keep these things standing, and I decided, let's just make something. It's simple enough, I think. And that's what I did. So I went to Home Depot, got a bunch of material, and I've got two different versions of these stands that I'm going to be using, and they're really great. So the first one I put together, this is a complete set of two stands with wheels. So I had to obviously attach a cross brace in order for them to not fall over, because there's only two wheels on each of these. But this is great because for me especially, it will allow me to set the V-flat or the 4x8 board in between the brackets, and there, and one here. And that's exactly what I need for it to do. I need it to be able to be propped up, not fall over, and on top of that, with the wheels now, I have this ability around the studio to just move, spin, push wherever I need it to go, and then I could just confidently walk away and not worry about it falling over. Alternatively, there is another way to do it if you prefer. Obviously, when you have it on the wheels, the V-flat itself is raised up off the ground a little bit, which to me is okay, but to some, they may not want any light whatsoever going underneath. If you're very particular, we do have sort of the individuals that we put together as well, which would just, no wheels, but those would lay a little bit more flatter to the ground. So it's still going to be about an inch and a half off the ground, and you won't have the ability to easily move it around the studio, but it still works just the same. I'll switch this out quickly. And in this particular case, these individuals are not attached by that same wood. I mean, the main point of that was with the wheels, to keep it from tipping. So you don't need that. You could still use it. But in this case, you have a little bit more freedom to move it around if you want to push it further out to the edge. If you have maybe a heavier board, that could work as well. We've kind of custom made these to fit about 3/4 of an inch thick board. These are 1/2 inch. So we left a little bit of space there, which I think is good, but they can be made with a space a little bit bigger if you have a thicker 1 inch, 2 inch. Basically, you could just let us know if you're interested in something like that. If you're not handy and you don't feel comfortable building it, we can make it for you. We're going to be offering these to anyone who's interested. There are going to be obviously two prices, one for the set with the wheels and one for the set without. And we'll post all that information up on our website. If you're interested, you can drop us an email to info@jesserinka.com. That's info@jesserinka.com. Ask us any questions you'd like. We paint them either black, white, gray, whatever suits your needs. I think we used in this case we used like a chalkboard-ish matte black paint, which I think works great. Honestly, I prefer the application with the wheels. I think that's even with that board in the back. If you felt not as comfortable, you could put a sandbag back there or just give it extra weight. But otherwise, these weigh almost nothing, and these brackets are obviously screwed in. So I think you're going to find this a very handy tool to have for you in the studio. I know I've already put it to use, and I love it. It solves a problem that I had, and that's really it. So if you're interested, like I said, feel free to reach out by email or through any of my social media accounts. It's Instagram, it's @Jesse_Rinka or @JesseRinka_portraits, or through Facebook @JesseRinka Photography or facebook.com/JesseRinka Photography. And yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, or I'd love to be able to make one of these for you and help you do things much easier in your studio. But thanks for joining, and I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, thank you.